Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I've been working on timing with you because when you learn how to play, you've got to know how to count time. And it's mathematical, it's based on fractions for the most part. So I'm teaching you an easy way to learn how to do that so you can play music and it's not a problem. So let me do a little bit of review for that, and then I'm going to play a piece that I actually wrote up this morning. Actually, how do I write music? Well, usually I'm just fiddling around doing this or that, and suddenly a song comes into my mind. The whole thing comes into my mind. Sometimes I have to work it out a little bit, but usually not much. So I had a song this morning that just kind of I worked with, and so we'll be doing that as well. So let me do just a little review. Remember, we're basing right now everything on 4/4 time. And what 4/4 time means is that you have 4 beats to a measure, and it's based upon a quarter note, which is usually 1 beat. So you would have 4 quarter notes to the measure, so that you would have your 4/4 time. And so if I look at this chart here, and you're going to see it, it's just kind of scrunched in. Here's your staff. It doesn't have to be a long staff, but just enough for you to get notes in it. And these are the bar lines. And everything that's written in here is a measure. It's considered to be a measure. So here's your whole note. Here's 2 half notes, which is a half of that whole. Then you have 4 quarter notes, which is a half of those half notes. Then you have your 1/8 notes. It can be written different ways. Then you have your 16th notes. That's basically what we're going to be dealing with in here. So you would count this on 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me, you would count this 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, it's all equivalent to 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the quarters, and when you get to the 8th note, just count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. They'll be a little faster because there's more of them. You can write it different ways. You have your body, your stem, and your flag. Here's the body, the stem, and the flag. Then you get the 16th notes that have 2 flags, 4 to a beat. 1 atizza, 2 atizza, 3 atizza, 4 atizza. That's an easy way of working with it. And so that's how it runs. Now, if you have 3/4 time, then you have 3 beats to a measure, and it's equivalent to 3 quarter notes, so it would be 1, 2, 3. You could have a dotted half. A half note is worth 2 beats, and that dot makes the note worth 1/2 again of its original value. So if it's 2 beats, then half of its value is 1 beat, and you get 3 beats that way. So it can be written that way as well. So 16th notes, if you had 3 beats to a measure, remember 4 of the 16th is equal to 1 beat. So here's 1 beat, here's the 2nd beat, and here's the 3rd beat. I wrote it in different ways just to show you that you can do it, but it's still the equivalent of the 4 beats. Now, 3/4 time, you can have a half note and a quarter note. Or you can have all 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so this is basically your time. If I'm counting quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm counting quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. These are single beat rests, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, how you count your rests is the same as how you count your notes. 1, 2 for this, and 1, 2 for this. Now, let's see. For the 16th notes, this is 1 beat, the 2nd beat, the 3rd beat, the 4th beat. Then supposing you have 2/4. Well, in the 2/4 time, there's only 2 beats to a measure. And if it's 2/4, there's only 2 quarter notes to a measure, so this is 1, 2. A lot of march music is written like that. If it's 2/4, just like that. Now, here's another way. If it's 2/4, this would be a measure, because 2 beats, only 2 beats to a measure, so a half note would be 1 beat. 1 and 2 and this would be 1 a tizza, 2 a tizza, and here you have your beat, 1 and 2. All right, for the rest, you count your rest just like you count your notes. So 1, 2, 1, 2. There should be a measure line there. No, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then you have your eighth notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6/8 time, the eighth note gets 1 beat, so you have 6 of them. So it can get complicated, but we're not going to get that complicated in here. Just remember that it can. So let me just take a drink. This is going to be 4 beats right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And this is and that's the bar line right there. Then with 16th notes, you're going to have 4 of these sets of 4 to make 4 beats. In 3/4 time, you're going to count this as 3 beats. But you can also count this as 3 beats. It's a dotted half because a half note is 2 beats, and then that dot makes it worth 1 beat more. So that's equivalent to the 3 beats. Then you have 3 beats in quarter notes, and in eighth notes it's 1 and 2 and 3 and with the 16th notes it's 4 notes to 1 beat. But there are 3 of them, so it makes it a 3-beat measure. This in 6/8 time, 4 beats. It'll be 6 beats. It's a whole note. A dotted quarter note is going to be the equivalent of 3 beats. How do I get that? Well, a quarter note is equal to 2 eighth notes, and then if you add a half of it, it'll be 3 by the dot. So you get 3 and 3, so you'll have 6. Then you have 6 here, and the 16th note you can have well, this would be a whole beat, and this would be repeat. I've got this whole measure repeated, so let's skip that for now. And this is the way it goes. So that's the way it works. With a smaller amount of beats, you just repeat the measure to get the beats that you want. That's what I did, because when I wrote it out, I didn't write enough notes on it, so I just repeated it. So that's the way that works. And here, all right, time signature is 4/4. The top number is the number of beats in the measure, and the bottom number is the kind of note that it is, which is the quarter note. Okay, I'm kind of losing it here. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 3/4 time. Half note is you can draw. It's a clear note with a stem either going down or it can go up. 3 beats, it would be dotted. This would be 2 beats. This would be 3 beats. So you get different types of timing, and that's important. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to play a song, but I'm going to teach you how to count it. So let me pull this off and put this on. I thought of this song this morning, and I decided, well, we need to be able to play some of the things that I'm talking about. I've been doing more talking than playing because of my voice condition, but that is getting better. So let me play a song. I'm going to play it in 2 different keys. And I want you'll notice the keys, it will be different. This is the song here. And this is the same song here, but this is in the key of G. It has 1 sharp, and this has the key of D, which has 2 sharps. So when we get things set, okay, I'll take the top part first. It'll be fairly fast, not terribly fast, but somewhat fast, because I want to teach you how to practice it and how to count the time. So we'll start on this. Now Now the second part of it, which is a little lower, I'm doing it in a different key. Now I want to try both of them again. They're the same song, and I want to try both of them again. So this I wrote out this morning. How would you count it? Well, if I can find my pointer here, which I can. If you look at this song, this is a fast, 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, and 3. What happens with this dotted quarter note? Why does that go faster? Let me just try it. I'll try part of it slower and explain to you what's happening with it. Okay, the song goes, but you'll find that the first 3 notes are quarter notes. They're just the same. When you get to the dotted quarter and eighth, what happens, and I'll point this out to you, the dotted quarter is worth actually a beat and a half. And the reason is you have a dot there, and the dot gives it a half beat more than what it would be if it didn't have the dot. So instead of having 1 beat, you have 1.5 beats. Well, if you have 1.5 beats, that's going to short the next beat, so that's going to have to become an 8th note. See, it's all mathematical. A dotted quarter gets like a beat and a half, which takes away from the next note if it were a quarter note, so it's made into the 8th note, and so therefore you get that kind of rhythmic way. If I were to play something just with the dotted quarters, it's that rhythmic. Just to play that by itself. That's the dotted eighth, the dotted quarter and eighth. And if I play it fast enough, then it's just obvious. It gives it a rhythm. If I didn't have it, I didn't have that rhythm there, everything would be a quarter note. You know, it would sound like this. And that would be more monotonous. I mean, it would be all right, but it would be more monotonous. So you add a little rhythm, you dot that quarter note, and the next note has got to be an 8th because you've taken away from it to add to the quarter note, if that makes any sense to you. That's the way it works. So how do you finger it and how do you count it? It's not that hard to do. I played it fairly fast because that's the way I wrote it, but 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. That's where you get the rhythm. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. And so it goes. Now what about this? This is in 2 sharps. It's the same song, but I wrote it in a different key. So it's going to sound higher pitched. But that's all right. It has the same rhythm to it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. All the way through it. So it actually is an exercise on how to do your dotted quarters and 8th notes, and it's in the form of a song. Now, it's not a great song, but it is a song. It's more, I like to write exercises in the form of a song because it's easier to listen to it. You feel like you're playing music. One of the problems that music books have, and they're very good books, and I'm not discounting what they teach at all, but one of the problems with them is the fact that it's boring. If you're a child, it's not boring because the music is simple, but if you're an adult, playing basically children's music, it gets boring. So why not make it in an adult acceptable form? So let me do this again, and I'm going to do it slower. The reason being, you need to learn how to practice it. You're not going to sit down at a piece and say, okay, I'm going to play this. Some people can do it, but usually people have to practice before they do it well. And you practice by playing something slow. Okay, so I'm going to play it slow. So that's probably faster than you would want to stop playing it if you were just playing it. You play something slow, and if you get into a problem, don't just play it over and over and over and over again, because you're going to rehearse your mistake. It's not going to get any better. You take it apart, and you do it a little bit at a time, from one note to the next note to the next note. Now, it may be boring, but that's okay. At least you'll get it right. So if I was having trouble, let's say I'm having trouble on the top line playing that dotted quarter and eighth, supposing I just can't figure out the timing of it. It just doesn't quite fit. So what I should do is play it one measure at a time, get that measure so I'm doing it well, then play the second measure and just go slow with it. And then when I get it so I can do it, I can gradually go faster and faster and bring it up to speed. And then I play the two measures together. And then I add one more measure, and when I get that up to speed, I add it to what I've already played. I play them all together. And by adding one measure or one and two measures at a time, doing it very slow, practicing especially on what you're having trouble with, then gradually what you're going to have, and it all kind of gels together, and you can start bringing it up to speed. That's the way people practice. And it was interesting because I tell people to do that. Well, I got a hold of a music book yesterday that said, don't practice it over and over again at the same speed. You're going to waste your time. Take it very slow and add one note at a time, two notes at a time, and it's going to be boring. But at the same time, you're going to learn how to do it right, and that's going to be important. So let me try it again. Now, one thing you notice is that I'm going to be tonguing. Almost every note in this is tongued. I didn't put in any slur notes, so basically you're tonguing the whole thing. But how do you tongue? If you couldn't tongue, then it would sound terrible. It would sound like this. There wouldn't be any distinct differences between the notes. They would all blend together. You may as well be playing whole notes for the whole thing. So what you have to do to tongue, you have to put the instrument in your mouth about 3/4 or a third of the way. And then what you do is you put your tongue, as if you're saying ta, you put your tongue right up against the mouthpiece so that the air is stopped. When you put your tongue up against the mouthpiece, it stops the air. And so therefore you can make divisions between the notes. You can separate the notes. So you're saying ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, whatever works best for you. And what your tongue is doing, it's bouncing back and forth on this mouthpiece, on the bottom of the mouthpiece, and you're going to find that it stops the air, and that's the way you tongue. And so if you're a new student, you need to teach yourself how to do that. And the way to do it, put the instrument in your mouth and then blow in and say to yourself, you're not saying it out loud, but as if you're pronouncing it, ta, ta, ta. Then you can get a separation of the notes. When you get the separation of the notes, you can go as fast as you want to, and you can make this song very fast. Now, when I wrote it this morning, I wanted to play it fast. It just kind of came to me. Whatever comes to me, I just write, and that's the way I compose. It makes a nice little song when you get through, but you have to be able to tongue it to be able to do it. So the things that you do when you pick up an instrument, and I'm going to be doing more and more of this with music, is the fact you make sure your left hand is on the top of the instrument, your right hand is on the bottom. All woodwinds are the same. You do that for all of the woodwinds, and then you make sure that the thumb hole is closed in the back of the recorder. Not all instruments might require you to do that, but with the register that I'm playing it, and that's what I need to do. I need to close the back note. So this is your G, you know the fingering of the G, B, A, G. And then it goes down to an E. You add those two fingers, and you add them at the same time. Because if you don't add them at the same time, you're going to get a sloppy. You see, it's not going to be, it has to be crisp, and it has to be natural, and the notes have to be completely separated without spaces between them. When you talk, stop to think of how you talk. When you talk, you put spaces between things, but you don't put big spaces between things. You wouldn't say, I am going out. I am going out. I make the separation between I am going out. They're separate words. They're not blended in together. But even though they're separate, they're next to each other. There's not big spaces between them. One of the flute players I used to teach, she had the habit of stopping between every note. And it sounded but that's not the way we talk, and that's not the way we play. The notes have to be together, but distinct. And the only way you can do that, of course, is to be able to tongue. So you tongue it. Why do I use a simple song? It's the easiest way to teach you how to do it, because a lot of times you'll be all over the place. But it's still separated, it's still distinct. See, I separated it, but still there's this together. But there's not a heavy separation. There's separation so you can hear each note distinctly. And the best way to do it is to teach it with simple songs. That's the best way to learn. So if you were playing, like I did 3 G's and an E, and you keep your fingers. There's another way some people do, and they're not right when they do it. They want 3 G's, okay, so you play 1 G, take the fingers off, play the next G, take the fingers off. You don't do that. You keep your fingers on as much as you can so that you keep the movement of your hands as simple as you can. Now when I played that E, I didn't move my left hand at all. I played the G again and then went to the D. Didn't move the left hand at all. I didn't have to move it for most of the notes until I had to move it to make another note that required a different fingering. So anyway, I'm going to close it here. We'll be doing exercises like this. For one thing, they're kind of fun to do when you get used to them, and they can teach you a lot. So at any rate, we'll close it here. We're almost out of time. Please join me next time.